on my way to meet my best friend after a long time. We met 8 years ago during the first snowfall of the year, and I can't believe we have never missed first snowfall together. I just put on whatsoever that would keep me warm and rushed to our spot. It was a 5-minute walk from my not so beautiful but cozy apartment, and I kept hopping like a kangaroo. Neon lights and warm atmosphere welcomed me in the night bar, and I searched for the familiar face but couldn't find her. I just kept myself busy with my phone until an arm rested on my back, pushing me to itself. I was welcomed by a tattoo guy with not so friendly face and aura. "Hey Loka, you alone?" I was quick to pull away. "No, I'm waiting for my friend, excuse me." I tried to escape because the guy with tattoos all over was giving not so friendly vibes. "Aye, leaving so early, princess. We can..." Before he could speak further, I said hi to nobody in particular, and as he turned his head, I made a dash. My sixth sense was telling me something was gonna be wrong today. And look, why can't my life be normal? I rushed out of the bar, looking back once in a while until my head hit something, making me stop on my tracks. I was gonna walk away with a sorry, being in a rush, until the familiar scent entered my nostrils, halting my footsteps. The phone slipped out of my hands, and sudden adrenaline rushed in my body. "It's okay," he whispered. "No way, it can't be. No, no." I refused to look up, cause I know who it was even before seeing the face. I was quick to push him trying to escape, but he turned out to be quicker. His arms engulfed my figure, with his face immersing in my neck, inhaling my scent. At this rate, I could feel my racing heartbeat. I struggled to push him off me, but he didn't even budge. "Please, please just this be a dream too. Please." I closed my eyes tightly and opened them again, not once, but a couple of times, but was met with the flakes only. "It's not a dream." "Missed me, baby girl." His deep voice was enough to ruin my insides and shake my heart. I could feel the sarcasm in each bone. He slowly pulled away, his hands caressing my cheeks. I did flinch, but couldn't move back, since his other hand was resting on my back firmly. His hand resting on my cheek grabbed my chin, pulling my face up to meet his eyes. His gaze was intimidating as ever. His lips were turning to a grin. His inner cheek was between his teeth until he made a satisfying click sound. I couldn't hold his gaze, so I looked away. It made me sick to my core. Sick because I was attached to him, and I hated myself for it. His fingers caressing my cheek, tucking my hair behind my ear, while I took a while to register all the situation. How is this even possible? How can we ever be in Seoul? How did he even find me? "Jungkook?" I stumbled, but his hand, resting on the small of my back, pulled me closer, slamming me in his torn chest. My lips pressed a thin line as his finger traced my face, starting from my eyes to cheekbone and then my jawline. Pulling my face up from my chin, he grinned. "Long time no see, love." I would have loved to show him with middle fingers or string of curses, but his intense gaze blocked my senses. It would be a lie if I hadn't thought back to that time and regretted to run away. I was curious what he would do to me. Why was he even after me? All these years, I have not been alone, but lonely. I wondered if Jungkook was like that too. He never heard me all this time. Maybe he's just bad at expressing his emotions, just like me. 3 years back, we were in love. He was my everything. Our life was going well until I realized the truth. He's a mafia, and he had been fooling me from hiding his true identity. I felt betrayed and terrified. I left him forever. These 3 years, he had been trying hard to find me. I too missed him and his warmth, but he doesn't deserve to be loved. "He kills people, Ryan. He's a monster." A voice came from my back of my head, and I struggled to get out of his hold, but he pulled me closer. His head tilting with one hand, resting on small of my back, and other holding my hair. For a moment, my chest tightened, my breath hitched, and at some point, I did close my eyes to feel his warmth against my lips. I may or may not have yearned for it. All of a sudden, his hands were not on me. Instead, he was pulled back in a jerk. Get away from my girl! The piercing guy from earlier was holding Jungkook from his collar. This is not gonna turn out so well. I almost forgot about that freak. Why can't I have a normal life? Kiddo, just walk away when I'm being nice. The murderer pushed him away, fixing his shirt and giving a not so friendly pat on his face. I looked back upon hearing a light thud sound, and JK was punched on his face. He's done for. And next moment I knew the piercing guy was on the floor with Jungkook punching him like crazy. He's finally being himself. I looked at my side and huffed. The angelic guy Jimin, who's always with Jungkook, was seeing him fight with a proud smile. Guess I'm surrounded by freaks. Jungkook stood up, taking off his jacket and throwing it to me, not forgetting to pass a wink and continue the assault. The fight went on for a good 20 minutes when JK stood up and tilted his head, smirking. Yeah, he won. I looked around and still no chance to escape. I'm doomed. I looked at the lifeless body of the piercing guy, and for a moment I felt like throwing up. The nostalgia with the smell of blood wasn't helping. The murderer tilted his head in a mocking way, not to mention his ear-to-ear grin. I looked around, but hell, I was trapped. He walked up to me with an intimidating gaze, each step making my legs go weak, blocking my senses. At this moment, I thought, is this how it ends? My life is so unfair. I never had the privilege of a family, and not even a protagonist. Instead, I got this handsome rebel. Life sucks at times. I let a scream when my back hit something. Not so hard, but not so soft either. I was lifted up by arms, and then an arm wrapped around my waist, followed by a whisper, "Let's go home, love." I continuously fell in and out of consciousness, and only fragments of memories stored in the back of my head. Mostly it was dark. At last, I opened my eyes with a heavy head. Even the ceiling seems to shake as if there was an earthquake. But I realized, no, it was just in my head. It took me a good couple of minutes to get a hang of myself and be conscious. My whole body felt numb, as if all the energy had been pulled out of me. With utmost effort, I pushed myself up, getting in sitting position, only to end up yelling at the sight in front of me. It was a brief yell, but I was shocked as hell by Jungkook. He was sitting on the daybed with his elbows on his knees and chin on his closed knuckles. His sleeves had been rolled up and the coat was nearly resting aside him. The top buttons were unbuttoned. And damn! I rested my back on the headboard and waited for him to speak when his voice rang in my ears. Ryan, don't try to run or I'll make sure you won't be able to get out of my bed. He didn't really mean that, right? I was already in his bed and he was in front of me and 1,000 possible scenarios were made in my mind. I gulped, shaking off the tightening feeling on my chest, yet the butterflies in my stomach. I didn't want to admit, but somewhere inside I wanted him to do dirty things to me. You really like to run, huh? He spoke in a low tone and I held in my breath, staring at him intently with my doe eyes. I warned you many times. I clenched on the blanket. I knew he had carried me here. I knew he had given me anesthesia shot. I knew he was the one who took off my shoes and covered me in duet. I want to hate him, but I can't bring myself to. I just can't. I don't know why. Why I have to run, but it feels like I just have to. I honestly don't know what to do. Fine, I'll give you a chance. My heart thumped with that sharp gaze. You can run all you want, but if I catch you, he bit back his next words and tilted his head. Time starts now. I gazed at the door and then at him, and then back at the door. And I made a dash. I considered hiding in his gallery, but realized it was kind of suffocating for me. So I ran down the stairs and ended up tripping at the last steps. My foot twisted badly and I winced. The sound of his footsteps were heard not soon after, and at that time I realized that why didn't I go straight out to the front door and out the main gate when I had the chance? As I came out, I fell back into the place, hitting my head with the desk and holding my wounded foot, wincing in utter pain. Ah, I screamed. Jungkook was leaning with the wall right beside the desk, and I swear, I wondered why haven't I got a heart attack until now? Why is this happening to me? I felt his heat beside me all of a sudden, and he touched my ankle, murmuring, "What happened?" But I pushed him away. I was angry at him out of the blue, angry at all this happening to me. Despite my struggles and hits, he lifted me up and carried me back to the room. I did cry out for help and yelled at him, put me down, and when I was about to protest, not a single word. I felt tears forming in my eyes, but kept my mouth shut. He was trying to help me. I knew, but I was being a bad girl. As I was sitting on the bed, fighting back the urge to scream because of immense pain when he was examining my ankle, I bit my lip harshly when he said, "How did you twist your ankle?" I wanted to lung out at him but couldn't find the words. My mouth moved but voice didn't come out. It wasn't his fault, not entirely. "I hate you," was what I murmured with tears falling down my cheeks. Our eyes stared into each other's for too long. I just couldn't pull away. And I didn't know why I was crying, but I was, with hiccups. Maybe it's because I haven't cried for days and having a session now. It's alright, I knew, but I was hating the fact that he's seeing me crying. I don't like to be vulnerable in front of anyone, and especially him. Maybe those were tears of frustration, or tears of helplessness, or tears of hunger, or tears of pain. I would never know. That's how human emotions are complex. He murmured something while pecking my ankle, only if I knew what he said. He was gone for a moment while I tried to stand up but ended up tripping, and gladly he caught me in time yet again. For the first time I noticed anger in his eyes, his endearing gaze threatening me to the fullest, and I shooting daggers. I was back on the bed, and this time I didn't dare to move. When he was done with the bandage, yes, I let him do so. I knew he wouldn't leave me alone either way. So yeah, when he was done, I murmured a "leave me alone" instead of a "thank you." I silently cried in the sheets for what felt like hours. Mary came with dinner, but I had kinda kicked her out too, saying, "Leave me alone for now, please, I beg you." As long as I remember, Jungkook never came. When my heart felt light and the tightening feeling around my chest had gone, I slipped out of the sheets, limping my way to the mirror and looking at the mess. Me. I looked really awful right now. The anesthesia reactions were somewhat still there, and it felt like all my energy had been drained. When I was about to go towards the restroom to freshen up, I felt as if the world around me was shaking. I felt the sticky feeling between my legs with a twist in my stomach. I tried to shake away the feeling, thinking of the anesthesia reactions, and rushed to the restroom to check if I gotten my periods. But the time I realized I was losing consciousness, it was too late. I remember falling on the ground, seeing black fragments in my eyesight. Jungkook's point of view. I opened my eyes with a sudden jerk and sighed, realizing I slept on the floor. Quite ironic. I was sleeping on the doorstep of my own room. My baby got hurt. Guess I deserve it. It was past 12 when I checked the time, so I thought she would be asleep after bawling her eyes out. I know she cried. I had been listening to her sobs the whole time and found myself helpless. I made sure to not make any sound when I walked in to check upon her, but Wayan was on the floor. She slept on the floor too. I knelt on my knees and her sweaty self proved me wrong. She's burning now as she's on fire, her face pale as she was fallen in and out of consciousness, murmuring inaudible words. I was quick to place her on the bed and called Jin Hyung. Yeah, why are you calling it Hyung? I said in a hard tone and he knew. He knew I was broken. What happened? Say it. Well, Wayan and I got into a fight and then she hurt herself and now she isn't waking up. It wasn't entirely a lie. She isn't opening her eyes and her body is burning up. First, check her temperature and then tell me. I did as he said and after checking I spoke up. It's 103 Fahrenheit. Yeah, are you for real? I massaged my temples in frustration and anger. I was really hating myself at this moment. Once again, you ruined Jungkook. I shouldn't have left her alone in the first place. Just text me the medicines, please. I will text other measures too. Better follow them or I'll beat up you when we meet. I never thought you'd be this careless. I hanged up, sighing heavily. I looked at the lifeless body and pecked her forehead, murmuring a small sorry. I was feeling ashamed to my core. She was my responsibility. I texted Jimin to bring medicines and not much later I heard a knock on the door. Till then I used a wet towel to lessen her temperature. Jimin's point of view. I'm playing the delivery boy here. With a comment, I entered the room and handed him the medicines and I realized it was for Wayan, seeing her on the bed and a towel on her forehead. But you won't believe if I tell you what else I saw. Jungkook, Akka the youngest mafia boss, was crying over a girl. Wow, love really changes people. Okay, now I know I'm exaggerating. He ain't crying, but his eyes are glossy and face is a bit redder than it should be. I have known this punk for 10 years, but seeing him like this is really something. He hates to cry in front of anyone, but look at him now. Oh my god, this is breaking news. Jungkook's point of view. As Jimin was nowhere in sight, I stared at the medicine, but the fact they were all either capsules or pills pissed me for a moment. And then I did something I shouldn't have. I am not trying to take benefit from her unconscious self or doing things without her consent. I am just trying to help. I chewed the bitter medicines myself and forced them in her mouth. Her eyes did open for a while, but the trick kinda worked and she gulped them down. That's my girl. Hours later, I realized her temperature was getting back to normal, finally. I smiled sheepishly and tucked her in the sheets, pecking her forehead. I'm sorry, love. Wayan's point of view. I opened my eyes with a piercing pain in my head. Right now, opening my eyes felt the hardest thing and moving my body felt tiresome. There was a bitter taste in my mouth, awful, and in my mind there was blurry lips. Jungkook kiss, sorry? Was there a dream? I guess it was, cause it was awfully romantic, a mixture of bitter and sweet. But wait, I lost my consciousness. Yes, I remember clearly that I fell on the floor, but how the hell am I on his bed? Don't tell me it wasn't a dream. I ran to the washroom, brushing away my thoughts to get rid of this bitterness in my mouth. But instead I realized I got my periods. So those were actually pre-periodic mood swings. Poor him. No, he ain't poor. I got this band-aid on my foot because of that devil. Handsome devil to be accurate. I was quick to wear on my things and walk back to bed only to find a red stain on the sheets. Oh my goodness! Just then, the doorknob moved and I jumped on the bed covering my dark stain on the sheet. It would be so embarrassing if he sees it. He walks in with a tray carrying a soft smile on his face. Oh, wait, don't move him. Don't you dare to. But this Jungkook is my favorite. Morning. He pecked my cheek after placing the tray right before me and I managed to keep the straight face. Remember, I'm angry from him since last night. I gotta stick to my role right. Have breakfast. I turned my head to the other side, but smiled ear to ear. I was looking forward to him feeding me. I don't want to. Babe, please don't skip your meals. He called me babe. Don't lose your composure. I stayed silent but murmured, leave me alone not long after. I will if you finish your breakfast. I don't believe you. I am a man of my words. I gazed at the tray and then at him. My stomach growled but not too loudly. Safe for now. I crossed my arms and still played the 6-year-old daddy's princess role. I think he got the hint and brought a folded piece of bread near my mouth. I smiled in victory and ate silently, and as per his promise, he was leaving. But then suddenly I remembered. What about college? He left a small no, and that was enough to infuriate me to my core. Go to hell, I yelled, and yes, I know he must have heard. I changed into my pajamas and plopped onto the bed, revising my assignments through my laptop. Yes, he got me a laptop too. He ain't my sugar daddy, anyways. When I was washing away my stain from the sheets this morning, Mary came and not only changed the sheets, but she gave me a heat pack and a huge basket of chocolates with a small card which had written, "Take some rest, love." And at that moment I realized he had already seen the stain. That little boy got laser eyes, dude. And I'm making it awkward now. Control your hormones, you fool. Jungkook's point of view. I came back home and Wayne was nowhere to be found. I massaged my temples out of frustration. I had a hella bored day and now this. When I told Jimin that I can't find Wayne, he just laughed away. Seriously? This punk is laughing? Does he have a death wish? I threw death glares at him and he gave that playful smile. Come with me, was what he said while dragging me by my sleeve and stopping at the backside of servant quarter. I gave him a "what the hell do you think you're doing" gaze, but then he pointed somewhere. My eyes fell on her, my baby. It was her with a baby rabbit in her arms, as she was sitting on the grass surrounded by rabbits. So she was here, she didn't escape. It's rare to see her this happy. She glowed brightly in her yellow frock, and the bright smile plus the giggles added to it. I didn't realize until now that Jimin was gone. And I also realized that the tiresome had been washed away. She's my serotonin dose. And I know I was smiling like a sick maniac seeing her pet the little bunnies on the ground. I stood there for a good half an hour until she noticed me, and I didn't hide my smile. All my smiles are for her and her only. Cute. Please subscribe and thank you for watching.